Story 1. Smallpox was eradicated and preserved only in 2 sites for research. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is the American one. They misplaced some smallpox samples, and they actually entirely left the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's custody and control. Fortunately, it was recovered, but it goes to show how easily it could get out. Story 2. The way the environment is being destroyed and how little is being done to really address it is concerning. The thought that future generations might not have access to clean water or a safe place to live because of our actions is pretty terrifying to me. Story 3. Common sense isn't common anymore. Also, no one seems to have the ability to critically think and figure things out. People need someone to hold their hand and guide them to get things done or figured out. Story 4. Terrifies me? Nothing anymore. The world has revealed itself to us all with the help of social media, 24-hour news, etc. So now we know that it is 100% certain that the 0.01% control everything. Justice does not exist unless you are wealthy enough. Hideous crimes against humanity are committed regularly and daily. Democracy does not work and the alternatives do not work. A human being has a good probability of destroying the work of others through greed and selfishness. Humanity is fundamentally flawed in that sense, so we can hope to evolve out of it, or we will never be able to fulfill our potential. But eventually, nothing matters. The universe is dying. One day the sun will eat Venus and kill all life on Earth. Then it will implode to become a black hole. Eventually, the universe will be dead apart from black holes. When black holes run out of matter/dark matter, the universe will be a barren, empty void with literally nothing in it. That is all, folks. Now, do you feel liberated? Or do you feel despondent? Because nothing matters in the long run. Story 5. It always kind of freaked me out how narrow our visual spectrum is. The naked eye is blind to most of the electromagnetic spectrum. There could be any number of scary things all around us, and we would never know. Story 6. To me, it's the lack of accountability. Kids get away with things at home and at school with no type of consequences. No real efforts are made to have them understand why they are wrong for doing something. They then think they can get away with things in the real world. Story 7. You never really know what anyone else is thinking. Do they have good intentions or bad? What do they really think of you? It is all a mystery. The only mind we know is ours. Story 8. It always kind of freaked me out how narrow our visual spectrum is. The naked eye is blind to most of the electromagnetic spectrum. There could be any number of scary things all around us, and we would never know. Story 9. Groupthink. It's terrifyingly easy to get a group of people to hurt somebody by simply making them feel like they're in. And if they didn't, they would be out. Story 10. Our bodies are as susceptible to the world and what's in it as anything else. If someone really wanted to, they could chop off your arm. And now you would be missing an arm for the rest of your life. It was your arm, but someone else took it away. It freaks me out to know that I'm not even in complete control of my own physical self. Story 11. There is nothing out there remotely close to our planet that we can get to with the same characteristics, yet we seem determined to make the only rock we have as uninhabitable as possible. Story 12. People truly do not care about their children's mental well-being and even less about their future. This has been tested in years of work as an early years educator, also known as a glorified babysitter. Story 13. What is the line in the Flagpole Sitta song? Been around the world and found that only stupid people are breeding and cloning and feeding. That, and the fact that antibiotics are increasingly being resisted by microbes. The microbes are evolving and we are devolving. Story 14. Not terrifying, but something I dwell on is the amount of plastic already on this planet, not to mention the future. I look around my house at all the plastic bottles, containers, toys, and then think about the millions of other households just like it. Microplastics are in everything now, and human consumption of them will keep increasing. If the nuclear weapons don't get us, plastics will. Story 15. How quickly and easily we could fall into barbarism. Just like Lord of the Flies. When all bets are off, it would turn into the Purge real quick. Every brick that society structured and built for itself will simply fall apart within a week, given the right circumstances. Story 16. The fact that our human bodies were designed to live very similar to our ape ancestors, in the woods with clean air and water, living in small groups and eating food from nature. The majority of normal aches and pains come from our bodies being designed for nature, yet we choose to live in the most non-nature way possible. Our bodies hurt because they aren't designed to sit in a cubicle for 8 or more hours a day. We live in cities of millions of people, not small groups. Our food industry actually needed a law so that they would stop putting sawdust into our meat because, money. We choose to spend our time chasing an arbitrary and frivolous thing like money instead of bettering ourselves. We aren't made to sit at a desk or watch TV. We are made to live in nature. Story 17. Stuff coming from the sky, the ground shaking and falling apart, the land becoming sea, or the sun deciding to have a bit of a flare-up. Natural disasters beyond control. Yellowstone Park erupting. Maybe not natural, nuclear war is always there in the back of the mind. Story 18. The lengths people will go to as a justification to excuse horrific acts of cruelty or injustice astound and sicken me. Almost always for personal gain. Story 19. You never really know someone. So many people have said they could never do something like that about serial killers and mass shooters. But they indeed do evil things while passing off as normal or even charming to most. Story 20. Nothing really. What is what is. In 100 years, nobody will remember us. 99.99% of us anyway. So why worry about anything? Now, I didn't say that I don't care about the here and now, but I don't worry about that much either. As a wise man once said, most people are about as happy as they choose to be. Story 21. That nothing is forever. Not in a sentimental way, but just that in a single day, something could just be gone, and most of us can't stop it. In a less serious version of that reality, I take so many limited time flavors for granted. Story 22. Despite how horrible other people choose to act, they are only human by nature. They're just like me in a sense. They have families, problems, and they masturbate as well. Our humanity is shared, and perhaps that's what makes us monsters. Story 23. Industrial civilization is only a couple of 100 years old. We think of all its trappings, electricity, cars, advanced communications, and plentiful food that we don't have to worry about growing, as the default because no one remembers a time before them, but this has all occurred in a blink of an eye by geological standards. Our social structures, our economy, all of it, this is all brand new and evolving rapidly, and the rate of its rapid evolution is increasing too. How sustainable is this world? The only one we've ever known. We simply don't have much information to go on. Climate change, nuclear war, disease, and some technology-driven breakdown in the social fabric. All of these could plunge us back into the dark ages. And without industrial-scale agriculture and complicated supply chains, the Earth can only feed a tiny fraction of its human population. That's what keeps me up at night. The idea that, at some point during my life, almost everyone I know and everything I care about could all come to a rapid end. I don't know how likely that is, but neither does anyone else. Story 24. I guess what happens to the body after you die. Regardless of what people believe about the soul and the afterlife, something that I am not talking about here, the fact is that your body, the vessel you used your whole life, has to somehow just pass away. Being buried and decomposing is just horrific, and it's spooky that it's natural. You can opt for cremation, but even that process of your body being destroyed by fire, though shorter than decomposing, is morbid and terrifying. It's not even the death that terrifies me as much as what happens to the body afterward. Story 25. The elimination of privacy and the rise of artificial intelligences will eventually make your every decision predictable. From there, it's only a matter of time before a set of influences that will drive any given decision some government or corporation wants you to make can be calculated. Story 26. Medical student here. I find myself terrified by the fact that we have more than 35 trillion cells that, for the most part, they divide independently and correctly. When this goes wrong, that's where you can get cancer. Our bodies are amazing in how they survey and modulate this process, and for 99.99999% of the time we replicate our cells, we stay cancer-free. Story 27. An increasing amount of temperature records are being broken during these heat wave breakouts, with freak weather events ranging from the polar vortex to non-stop rain. Additionally, animated TV shows, movies, and other videos from the 1990s and 2000s were straight up trying to warn the audience, but the scenery outside was too decent for people to get proactive about it. Story 28. There are people. And I know that sounds like, oh yeah, I hate people, but like people kill people. People molest animals and children and somehow justify it. They create religions, a holier-than-thou mindset that has tortured and killed so many, hating and killing each other over differences. Humanity is terrifying. We can literally wipe out other species, and we have, as well as ourselves. Humanity is disgustingly hateful and cruel. Yes, it has positive moments, but remember, one human, powerful and manipulative enough, wiped out over 6 million people. And that wasn't even the first genocide in history, or the last. It's scary how evil humans can be. Story 29. The movie Don't Look Up. For the first time as a species, the human race has the potential to take some sort of defensive action against a cometary or meteor impact. If we get enough lead time, we might have a chance, hopefully. But will the powers that be even take it seriously? Story 30. Islamization, which is quietly but surely taking over the world. The amount of change in Europe over the last 25 years is astounding. In the last French protest against Macron, you could see more Palestinian flags than French flags. Story 31. At any given point in time, no matter where you are, somewhere in the world, Woody Harrelson could be naked at that exact moment. Thinking about this legitimately sends shivers down my spine. Just no. Story 32. We are on the edge of a climate disaster we cannot comprehend, which will forever alter the planet and the human race. And still, somehow, we are expected to go to work like everything is normal and scientists are not panicking every single day at what they see. Story 33. If a gamma ray burst occurred in our galaxy and just happened to point at Earth, it could kill nearly all the life on the planet. It is possible that it happened once before, around 445 million years ago. Story 34. That at any moment, without warning, something catastrophic could happen and the world could end. Not just human extinction, but complete destruction of the Earth. Story 35. I used to believe in conspiracies and superintelligent people planning what's going to happen on the world scene. But no, I really just think humans are dumb and nobody knows what they're doing. And it's scary to think we're all just idiots trying to stay alive, and technology does happen, but it has no real direction. We're all just intelligent morons as a species. Story 36. You could be the healthiest, most hardworking, and decent person, and you could randomly die at any moment from an accident through no fault of your own. Car accident, a brick falling on your head, or being struck by lightning. Story 37. At any moment, the ground below us could swallow us all or incinerate us in a sea of lava. Huge floods could drown everyone, and humans are such hostile at times they will literally eliminate everyone, including themselves, for ideology. Story 38. The number of people who have absolutely no grasp on logical reasoning and can't understand logical fallacies when taught. I took a college course about logical reasoning and identifying logical fallacies, for example, strawman argument and red herring. I didn't have to study to pass the course with an A+ because the grading curve turned every 95 on a test or quiz into a 100. At the midpoint in the class, the professor revoked the grading curve because half the class of 35 people were failing badly. The other half of the class had A's. A few people asked for my help studying for the final, and it was like teaching bricks. They had learned about a logical fallacy and couldn't identify it in text, no matter what. Story 39. Human cruelty and division. I know our world will end one day, and I know it's unlikely we will escape the Earth before then. That's fine. Everything needs to end eventually. But I fear we won't ever reach a point where a gay man can walk the earth with his husband or when a black woman can so much as fix her car without prejudice. We make up so many rules for how people can act, and they're all so misguided. We're harming each other because we're wearing the wrong kind of pants right now. That is what truly terrifies me. Story 40. For how violent the world seems, things are getting better statistically. However, at any moment, A random person could build a small nuclear device and send it into the upper atmosphere, potentially ending satellite technology forever. Story 41. The way that our modern Western economic system so easily chooses significantly more dangerous or harmful practices for very minor differences in profit margins. Story 42. That most people passively accept global warming and overpopulation and do not want to do anything to change it. These two aspects, closely related to each other, will transform our world as we know it, leading to significant changes in the coming decades, and possibly result in a very different world by the year 2050. We could easily address overpopulation by providing free birth control and education on the matter. However, due to the insistence of religious zealots on imposing their beliefs, we find ourselves in a difficult situation. Story 43. How close we are to mutually assured destruction, and by extension, the extinction of the human species at all times via nuclear missiles. Read up on how many close calls there were during the Cold War, times when nuclear weapons should have been fired but one person decided to break protocol and double-check. It will haunt your dreams. Story 44. Children are being murdered by guns in schools. People go into financial ruin just for receiving medical care to stay alive. Housing isn't affordable.